Every mission was supposed to be routine, and yet, for thousands of American bomber crews over Europe, each flight carried a higher chance of death than survival. When the United States entered World War II, it believed in a powerful idea that air power alone could break an enemy's will. American planners were convinced that daylight precision bombing, carried out by disciplined bomber formations, could cripple German industry and shorten the war without massive ground casualties. It sounded clean, efficient, almost humane. But the skies over Europe would turn that belief into one of the most brutal experiments in modern warfare. The heart of WWII's strategy rested on heavy bombers like the B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-24 Liberator. These aircraft were massive, slow, and packed with guns. American doctrine believed that tightly packed bomber formations could defend themselves without fighter escorts.
Why?
Because technology, firepower, and discipline were expected to replace vulnerability. It was a theory built in classrooms and war games, not yet tested against a determined, adaptive enemy. Reality arrived fast. By 1943, American bomber crews were flying deep into Nazi-controlled Europe. Each mission took them farther from safety, farther from fighter cover, and deeper into a defensive system Germany had been refining for years. German radar tracked incoming formations. Anti-aircraft guns filled the sky with steel. Fighter pilots waited patiently, attacking from angles designed to shred bombers one by one. The odds were terrifying. Early in the air campaign, the statistical life expectancy of a bomber crewman was staggeringly low. Some crews didn't survive 5 missions. Many aircraft returned riddled with holes, engines burning, crew members wounded or dead. Entire formations vanished in minutes, and yet every morning new crews climbed back into their planes. Why? Because they believed they were shortening the war. Because they believed someone had to go. And because once you were in the system, stopping meant admitting fear, something few 19 and 20-year-olds were prepared to do. Inside a bomber, war felt claustrophobic and relentless. Crews flew at high altitude where temperatures dropped far below freezing. Oxygen masks were mandatory. Frostbite was common. A single hit could depressurize the aircraft, turning the inside into a violent storm of ice and metal. Men bailed out into enemy territory, knowing capture might mean torture or death. Others burned alive, trapped inside crippled planes spiraling toward the earth. German fighters were ruthless and intelligent. They learned quickly which angles caused the most damage. They aimed for engines, cockpits, and wing roots. They attacked head-on, firing directly into bomber noses where pilots sat exposed. These weren't random attacks. They were systematic executions of strategy. And still, the missions continued. American commanders faced an impossible dilemma. Why keep sending crews when losses were so high? The answer was strategic pressure. Bombing campaigns were meant to cripple Germany's ability to wage war. Factories, oil refineries, rail yards, these targets mattered. Stopping would give Germany time to recover, to reinforce, to extend the war. So the air war became a battle of endurance, not just against Germany, but against mathematics. The breaking point came during raids like Schweinfurt and Regensburg, where losses reached catastrophic levels. Entire bomber groups were nearly wiped out. For the first time, American leadership openly questioned whether the strategy itself was flawed. Precision bombing without escort was proving unsustainable. This is where the war changed. The arrival of long-range fighter escorts, particularly the P-51 Mustang, transformed the skies. For the first time, American bombers were no longer alone deep inside enemy territory. The Mustangs didn't just escort, they hunted. They chased German fighters to their bases. They destroyed aircraft on the ground. They broke the Luftwaffe's ability to contest the skies. Why did this matter more than bombing itself? Because air superiority decides everything below it. Once German fighters were destroyed faster than they could be replaced, bomber losses dropped dramatically. The air war shifted from slaughter to pressure. Factories were hit repeatedly. Oil shortages crippled German mobility. Training pipelines collapsed. The Luftwaffe bled pilots it could no longer afford to lose. But the cost had already been paid in blood. Thousands of American airmen never came home. Many lie in unmarked graves or foreign soil. Others returned broken, haunted by memories of burning aircraft and falling friends. The air war was not clean. It was not precise. It was a grinding sacrifice measured in aluminum and lives. Why do we still talk about bomber crews today? Because they fought a war where survival depended on chance as much as skill. Because they climbed into machines knowing the odds were against them. Because they proved that victory sometimes comes not from brilliance, but from refusal to stop. By 1945, Germany's war machine was collapsing. Fuel shortages grounded planes. Factories lay in ruins. Rail systems were shattered. The bombing campaign, brutal and imperfect, had done its job, but it came at a price that can never be fully calculated. The story of the American bomber crews is not one of glory. It is a story of endurance, of fear endured daily, of young men carrying the weight of strategy on their backs at 25,000 feet. That is how the United States broke Germany's skies, and that is why the air war over Europe remains one of the most punishing chapters in American military history.